A very warm assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to episode 5 of the Arabic with Sam podcast. What's coming up in this episode? I mean, obviously, we've had the Conor McGregor Habib fight, and I do want to talk about that a little bit, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with this podcast, but there's just some things I want to say. But so I'm going to do that right at the end. Like, it's nothing to do with the podcast whatsoever, there's just some things I want to say. So, just in case any of you guys are interested in that, I'll talk about it at the end, so we can get straight into what the podcast is actually about. Let me know where you're listening to this, by the way. DM me on Instagram. You can check out the Arabic with Sam Instagram. Drop me a DM. Some of you guys have been doing that and been letting me know what you think of the podcast. And, I love that. I really, really appreciate that. I appreciate you guys listening to this. And it means the world to me. So today, what on earth am I going to be blabbering on about for the next sort of 20 minutes or so? As promised, I mean, I always mention at the end of the podcast what the next podcast is going to be about. I think I might have mentioned that we would have a guest on the show, but that hasn't worked out this week. I'm moving house this week. I'm moving from my beautiful home in Cornwall, where I grew up, the place where my heart is. Unfortunately, I'm leaving there, moving to the Midlands. My family originally are from Northampton. We're moving back to Northampton, inshallah. But it's okay. It's all for the right reasons. So it'd be better for us to be close to London. My wife wants to be in the town and stuff like that. So anyway, so that's why I couldn't get a guest in this time. Couldn't get a guest on board because I'm moving around so much, and yeah, so that's how the cookie crumbles, as they say. So so in this episode, we're going to be talking about what makes a good Arabic program, or what makes a great Arabic program. And because a lot of the time when people are thinking about learning Arabic, and certainly one of the biggest questions that I get is like, what books should I use? Where should I learn? What teachers should I employ? Just how to learn Arabic. A lot of people have questions about how to learn rather than having questions about the nitty gritty of actually building sentences, of actually speaking, of actually practicing. That some of the most common questions that I get are about what resources do we talk about. So firstly, I'm going to take a little bit of a detour, but a really important detour, something that we're going to talk about before we even have any discussion about courses or materials or books or anything like that. We're talking about what makes a good student is so much more important. Like, rather than talking about what makes a good Arabic program, it's so much more important to talk about what makes a good student. Because if the student isn't right, if the person who wants to learn Arabic doesn't have the right attitude, it does not matter what resources that you have. It does not matter, right? Like if students come to me, or if people have tried to learn Arabic before but gave up or whatever, they come to me and they say, "Oh, I tried these, but I tried the Gateway books, but I just found them really blah blah blah. I tried the Medina books and I found them really blah blah blah." Like, that tells me a sign there's a problem with the student most of the time. The vast majority of the time that means there's something wrong with the student, because those courses, phenomenal Arabic speakers come out of those courses, right? Like, it's not something entirely wrong with the course, right? It's something wrong with the student a lot of the time. So I want to talk about some characteristics that the student needs to have to make sure that they actually achieve what they want to in the Arabic language, and you guys should pay attention to it and think, do I have those qualities? Do I have the qualities to make myself master the Arabic language to the degree that I really want? So firstly, the first thing that anyone needs to have to start anything, and more so to actually complete it, is motivation, right? To have students who are actually motivated and determined, and you need to think about what your motivation is. I think a lot of people have the wrong motivation, or sometimes even none. Especially when you teach kids, they might have, their motivation might be, I need to do this so I don't get told off by my mum. Like, that's not a good motivation, But you just have to be real with yourself. Like, so sometimes there's motivation which is really good, but not necessarily the best. I've had guys come to me and say, "Oh, I really want to marry this Arab girl." Like, that's a powerful motivation. That's a powerful motivation, but it's not necessarily the best one, right? So students need to have a motivation, right? And it needs to be, ideally we have a good one. We understand that it's for Islamic purposes, either directly for understanding the Quran and the Sunnah, or for getting more out of the Muslim lands. Like, when you travel to Muslim majority countries that speak Arabic, to get the most out of them. That's another very sort of noble reason to be motivated by it. And so motivation and to be determined, those are the two most important things that you need to have in the beginning. You need to have those right, and you constantly need to remind yourself why you're doing it. There were times when I was doing my degree. I remember, obviously, it's the case here in the UK that the academic term starts in September. I don't know if that's the same. Well, actually, I know it's not, because I went to school in New Zealand for a little while, and it doesn't start in September over there. But but anyway, here in the UK, it starts in September, and that's the winter for us. So we have our winter as like the first term. And I remember I'd moved to London. And London is it has a lot of amazing things. I know people over in the States, and a lot of people, a lot of you guys over there have this idealistic idea of what London's like, but really it's a bit of a hole. Like most of the places that people live in London they're pretty bogging, really. Anyway, so I was living in my little room in London. So expensive in London. I was living in a little room, and it's the winter, so obviously I was sick. And I woke up one morning, and it was like 9:30, and my lecture had started at 9, and I just felt so groggy and horrible, and I just thought, is it worth it? Should I just go home? Like, 'cause I know Arabic degrees have a very, very low percentage of students who actually complete it. I remember thinking to myself, look, there've already been 10 people drop out. Should I just go home? And I seriously contemplated it then, but because I was really motivated, I knew why I was doing it. It did sort of pull me through those times. So motivation, determination. Those are things that need to have sort of at the beginning. Next is consistency. The best student is the one who's going to implement something consistently. Consistency is an absolute superpower in anything that you do. Like if you implement routines that make you consistent upon something, it is like a superpower, and especially in learning languages. I tell my students, my clients, very often that like half an hour a day is so much more powerful than like a 3-hour seminar once a month or something, or once a week. Consistency, the little and often, is so powerful in anything. And even like what I do, like even in the work that I do, like putting out podcasts, putting out videos, creating my resources, and managing my Arabic in 60 steps program. Consistency is everything. Like I'll always get more students if I'm putting out videos regularly, or if I'm engaging with people on Instagram regularly. If I'm putting up posts on my Facebook and responding to people regularly. The consistency builds up momentum, and it's so powerful. So the student needs to be consistent. And then to also be long term. Like I know that there are a lot of courses. Like I remember when I was learning Italian once, there's like a 6-week Italian course, a little book, Italian in 6 weeks or whatever. Like that just isn't the attitude that people should have for learning Arabic. Like sometimes people learn Arabic for months or even years and not really see the rewards that they want to in learning Arabic. So I think for anybody who wants to really get anything out of learning Arabic, needs to be long term. Like you need to be prepared to study this for the rest of your life. Maybe at a different pace. Like maybe your first couple of years learning Arabic are pretty intensive. Like I think they should be the first couple of years. Like you should be dedicating time every week to it. But then after that, you can kind of taper off. Like after that, it has to be consistent but less intense. After that, I still need to be studying Arabic now, even though I'm a teacher, I'm a graduate, and I've studied fairly extensively abroad and stuff. Like even me at this point, I need to be reading Arabic regularly and practicing it regularly. But for me, it doesn't need to be quite as intense. It doesn't need to be my full-time occupation now. My full-time occupation is teaching it. I generally, my Arabic study habits is a few mornings a week I read some historical texts, and I maybe have an Arabic conversation with my wife, or I speak in Fusha with some of my friends or whatever. That's it really for me. So long-term, consistent, and to be motivated. So let's get on to what makes a course, what makes a good program. So obviously, the best program, in my opinion, incorporates all of those things. Like the best program motivates people. It is motivating, and I think what's really motivating, and something which I've tried my best to incorporate into my program, is for it to be motivating, and specifically to motivate students by making them feel like they're achieving a lot. Like students see themselves building sentences in the first 5 lessons. Students start piecing together their own sentences with almost 100 words within a few lessons. For students to see that, and for the lessons to be pitched appropriately is really important too. Like I remember when I was a primary school teacher, I had a student in my class, I won't mention his name, whose behaviour was terrible. I taught a class of my 32 students, 26 of them were boys, and we had some real behaviour issues, and there was this one boy, and one of the more senior teachers said to me, like, are you making sure that his work is the right difficulty for him? Like making sure that it's not too easy or not too difficult. And honestly, I wasn't. And when I paid more attention to it, just made sure that the work was right for him. It's a common expression among teachers that the majority of behaviour issues actually come from wrongly pitched work. Like the work that's set is either too difficult or too easy, and that's the root of most behaviour issues. And I find in Arabic programs, when the lessons are either too difficult or too easy, the successive lessons, the ones that come after, are too easy or too difficult, that's when students lose their motivation and they taper off. So I've tried my very best to incorporate that into my program for the lessons to be accumulative, students to feel that they're using their knowledge from the last lesson in the next one. So for courses to support that is really important. For courses to make sure that it's long-term and consistent, I mean, like making sure that resources are available online is a very quick fix, really, for making things consistent. Students can implement their own consistency if they have resources 24/7. They have access 24/7. So I mean that's something that I try to do in my program, and that's what something a little small detail that I don't see people mention is that the Medina books, they're actually physically smaller. They're not A4 like the Gateway books are a bit bigger. They are A4 books, and I think that I don't know if it's deliberate that the Medina book planning has done that they made the books smaller, which means they're easier to carry around and makes them fit into children's bags and stuff easier. So, if children, I don't know, say they're going to an uncle's house for the weekend or they're going on a little holiday or whatever, it just makes them easier for kids to take with them and adults to take with them. And I think that's a little detail that I think is really cool. So that's that's something that I incorporate. Some of the Medina books incorporate in their own way, and yeah. So I think that's obviously really important, and the best programs are what incorporate those things. So let's get on to some of the things that I've actually made a note of for what makes a really brilliant course. So firstly, I think the best courses are multi-sensory. If you don't know what that means, really multi-sensory is just a term for incorporating multiple styles of learning. So we have 4 main styles of learning. They are visual. Students it's not difficult to work that out. They're visual learners, they use their eyes. We have audio or auditory learners, they use their ears, and they like listening to things. You have kinesthetic learners, students who like using touch, they like using their hands to actually engage with something physical. And what's the other one? Linear, as well, students who like literally just reading and writing. That's similar to visual in a way, still just using your eyes, but it's a preference of being linear and organized rather than having multiple things going on at once, like a mind map or something like that. So I think courses should incorporate all of these, and actually I think that is perhaps a big failing, really, of most curriculums. Like most curriculums that I've got written down here that I'd like to talk about, like the Medina books, the Gateway books, the Sharia program, like a lot of them are just linear. Like a lot of them are just a book, but like I am going to be talking about my program quite a lot throughout this because it's kind of my program's a few weeks in now, and I obviously I do want to promote it more because I need to make a living, obviously, and so I will be talking about my program a little bit, but I'm going to get into some of the other specific programs. So but anyway, in my program, obviously, I have in my resources library, I have videos. Videos are in and of themselves multi-sensory, right? Like something that the Sharia program and the Bayyinah program both have are videos. And the Medina books and the Gateway books, you can find videos online, but they're not like an integral part of the course. You can do the course without those. Is videos, and then underneath it, for students who are more linear, I have the workbooks that you can access. You can print them online, or I'll post them to you if you're in the UK. And but then also I to the best of my knowledge, my course is the only course that incorporates a kinesthetic approach to teaching Arabic as well. Like me posting you your workbooks and binding them. I've actually got one right in front of me. Actually, like I've deliberately made this book very appealing from a kinesthetic point of view. I use good quality paper, and also it's very deliberate that I've spiral bound them. Like I could have easily, like I do know how to get my books printed to have them like a book, the same way like a novel is like glue sealed down the side. But I've chosen to spiral bind them because that is more appealing when you're folding the pages over. Like if you want to fold the page over, so you've still got like an A4 thing in front of you, rather than like a double page spread, then with the spiral bind you can do that, and it's just quite kinesthetically appealing. Like it's a nice size, and it's easy to navigate your way through the book and stuff. So that's something that I've put focus on. That's something very conscious that I've paid attention to, like a kinesthetic sort of physical element of a course. To the best of my knowledge, mine is the only online program that has that. Do you know what I mean? Like the Medina books, the Gateway books, they are books in and of themselves, do you know what I mean? But they're not primarily online courses. Good. Okay, so it should be multi-sensory, right? Like I think the best courses are multi-sensory. If you are doing any of the other courses as that I mentioned, like even a book that I really like, which doesn't get talked about a lot, is the Teach Yourself Arabic. Like in that, there are really long passages and like tons of vocab and like there aren't many courses that are really good at teaching modern standard Arabic like a spoken language. Do you know what I mean? Like most of our my course doesn't do that particularly well. Like I'll admit that's not a strength of my course. That like I'm not particularly teaching my course to teach people to speak modern standard Arabic. It's not like a conversational course, but the Teach Yourself Arabic is like conversational Fusha, which is really nice and actually really unique. Like the Teach Yourself Arabic program, I would really recommend that. You know, it was not really a program; it's just a book you can get on Amazon, probably for 15 quid or something, and that has a CD that comes with it too, which is really good as well. Stick it on in the car if your car even has CDs anymore. My car does because I drive an old car, but perhaps just as tape decks aren't in cars very often. Perhaps now CDs will start to be phased out. But either way, I'm sure they'll upload it as an MP3 online or something. Anyways, so okay, so we've talked a little bit about multisensory. So next one, number 2, for the thing that makes a good course is to have clear objectives. You know, like objectives are one of the hardest things. You know, I have this long video on my YouTube channel it's probably about an hour long, of me breaking down all of like the reasons why people want to learn Arabic, like. You know, and all the types of Arabic. Like people approach me and they talk about all these different dialects. They talk about what is classical Arabic, what is Quranic Arabic, what is modern standard Arabic, what is Fusha. You know, what's the difference between like modern and classical or ancient Arabic? And there are all these different terms that are associated around Arabic, and courses very rarely clarify what they're teaching. You know, they just call it all Arabic, and that can be really confusing because if a student comes to me and wants to learn what they've been told is Arabic to speak to their in-laws who are from Morocco, my course won't help them. Like, if that's their only desire from Arabic, and they want to learn that as the first thing that they learn, then my course won't help them. You know what I mean? So, like, courses, I think, need to be sensitive to that. The audience of people who want to learn Arabic don't necessarily understand all of the ins and outs of what these terms mean, and because their experience of learning another language at school, whether it be like French or Spanish, like if you want to learn Spanish, you're learning Spanish, and Spanish will be used for Spanish books and for in the country, and in any of the countries really. Like I know there's some variation in dialects, you know, like if you learn, you know, Castellano, if you learn like Spanish, and you go to Peru, then there'll be some dialect differences, but essentially written standard Spanish is applicable in everything, you know, but Arabic is just not like that. So there need to be clear objectives, right? Like the courses need to make it clear to their students what exactly they'll be learning. The next thing I want to talk about, this sort of number 3 on my list, is whether they're paid or free. You know, students always want free lessons. Students always want free. We love free, don't we? Like, well, even I do. You know, obviously, as human beings, we earn money, and we would like to keep that money if we can, and to not spend it. But I just find, for the serious student, I think you should pay for something. Personally, I think you should pay something. You should invest in yourself. Like, to me, like I've taught Arabic at all different levels. Like I've taught lessons for free. I put out videos for free. This podcast is for free, right? You know, and I've taught for very little. You know, like when I first started teaching online, I didn't really know anything about how much I was worth or how much was the going rate and stuff like that. And I was charging like £12.50 an hour. Like Domino's pizza delivery drivers are on almost that. Do you know what I mean? Like no disrespect to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, like it's not saying that it's like bad, but for someone with a degree and someone who's teaching academic subjects and someone who has the type of skill set that I do, it's not quite right. So like I've taught at that level. Then obviously now, like I do private lessons, but I charge like £30 an hour for students who are not on the program. People who are on my Arabic with 60 Steps program, I do it for less. I give them a discount, but so like I've taught at all those different levels, right? Like and even some clients that I've had. I mean, I've had clients who pay me double that. Like when I was living in London, I had some incredibly wealthy Omanis who for some reason offered up paying me a lot more than that to teach their kids Arabic. But so I've taught at all these different levels, right? And I understand the results that I get from all these different levels, and like the consensus, like the thing that is just so clear for me to see is that students who aren't prepared to invest in their journey very rarely reach their goals. Students who aren't prepared to invest in themselves, man, they are very, very unlikely, to reach their goals if they're not prepared to invest in it. And that's the case with anything, right? Like if you're not prepared to invest in a gym membership, you might remain a fatty. Do you know what I mean? If you're not prepared to invest in healthy food, you might remain a fatty. Like, I'm only using that as an example because that's like me. I've put on a little bit of weight. If you watch my YouTube channel, then you might see I've put on a little bit of weight. But inshallah, I'll join a gym. But anyways, okay, so personally, I think that for the serious student, paid resources are just better. Like when we talked about what makes a great program, what makes a good program, paying for them also makes a great program. Like if the teacher's anything like me, then I'm reinvesting the money and the time into the course. And like if I wasn't earning any money from my course, and if your teachers weren't earning any money from teaching you, their teaching would not get better. Unfortunately, we just live in a world that you need money for stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like you have teachers who have children and have a family and rent to pay and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like if you care for your teachers, then you end up with better results from them. It's not complicated, you know. But if you're someone who's not particularly serious about, you know, you've got like short-term goals, you want to learn a few phrases for going abroad, you can easily learn that online. Do you know what I mean? Or if you're someone who just wants a little bit of motivation, you can just learn that you just get that from YouTube videos and stuff. Like I do videos for free, and I think that students can go a long way with my free videos for sure. But like to really get the best, you know, to really make the best of your time. And actually, I think for a student who's serious, for not pay for a program, I think you actually lose money in the long run. Like the amount of time it takes you to figure out how to order all of your study and to figure out getting all of your resources together, and maybe to even have to buy a book on Amazon or whatever, like, and then to have to buy, pens and paper and all that sort of stuff. Like, if you consider the time it takes you, if you're just to pay for someone to organise it for you, you'll actually save money in the long run. Like, I think if a student wanted to achieve the level that I teach in my Arabic in 60 Steps program, it would cost them years. Like, it would cost them years, and if you think of that, it would cost them thousands of pounds. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, I sell a course for 100 quid for the whole year. It's eight quid a month. It works out as it's practically free. Like on a practical level, it's free. You'd barely notice it going out of your bank account, but you're still investing in yourself, and you're still getting the benefits as if you felt like you're paying for something. And despite that, I mean, I know my course is really cheap. Like I know it is. I want it to be easy and accessible for people. But like most of the knowledge that I learned in my first 2 years of an Arabic degree. By the way, if you wanted to go to university here in the UK and do an Arabic degree, that'd cost you 30 grand. Now, like if you considered your accommodation and your food and transport and everything like that, as well as your tuition fees, which now are 9 grand a year in the UK, which is bonkers. Like when I went to uni, it was like 3. So I mean anyway, paying for resources, basically, I'm saying, if you're serious, is the best idea, is the best approach for you. And then, I mean, this is a minor point. I mean, this is sort of 3.5. It's not really a whole point in and of itself. It's just whether you should do a dialect course or a Fusha course. I would be tempted even to say dialect or Arabic. I'm of the opinion that dialects are not really Arabic, which isn't disrespect to them. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like I like dialects. I speak Egyptian dialect and I speak Palestinian dialect, and I like them, and they're legit languages, but they're not Arabic really. Like they're very close to Arabic, and they share a lot of vocab and a lot of grammar with Arabic, but I think it's only really a matter of time until they become derived languages rather than considered the same language, the same way that Spanish, French, Portuguese, Romanian aren't considered Latin anymore. They're children of Latin, but they're not considered Latin anymore. And the same way that those languages were influenced by their own histories and their own geographies and their own their own things that went on within those communities. Likewise, the Arabic that's spoken in Egypt is tainted by, well, not that makes it sound negative, but the language is adjusted by pronunciation and cultural factors that existed before Arabic came to that land, and that's and those things over time will make Arabic more and more distant. Unless we have a conscious effort, right? Unless we have a conscious effort to make Arabic a spoken language among the people, which at the moment it barely is. So should a course be teaching dialect or Fusha? Well, it depends if the students want to learn dialect or Fusha. That's the clear answer. If you have long-term objectives of having a well-rounded knowledge of all Arabic, you should learn Fusha first. That's absolutely my opinion. I think dialects are things that they are much, much easier. Dialects have very, very little grammar. Like, if you already know all the grammar and the ins and outs of Fusha, of standard Arabic, then learning dialect will be like I don't know, just little tweaks and stuff, really. Like, I mean, the dialects, if you were going to learn a dialect alone, it'd be, it's not much different to learning just a far simpler language. I don't think. Like, they're just not as, dialects aren't as historically rich, they're not as culturally rich, they're not, like, they're not grounded in Arabic's nature and its rules. So, I mean, my personal opinion, if you want like a full appreciation of all of Arabic, you need to learn Fusha first. If you want an appreciation of just a specific country, then absolutely go ahead and learn your dialect. Like, it's, they're absolutely legit languages. You'll absolutely love speaking them. They're a lot of fun. Like learning Palestinian dialect, especially when I was in Palestine, was beautiful. Like, I absolutely loved being able to have like back and forth banter with taxi drivers and stuff, and be able to use their own politenesses, and understanding the nuts and bolts of how of how it's applied in the society is really beautiful. It's really amazing. But yeah, but just personally, I think the students should have a long-term desire to have a well-rounded appreciation for all of Arabic, and to achieve that, I think students need to learn modern standard Arabic first. To round off, there are still places on my program. This is kind of, we don't have any sponsors on this podcast at the moment because we're very small at the moment. There's probably only sort of 3 or 4 people listening. May Allah bless you guys who are listening. Well, welcome to the show. But but instead of thanking a sponsor, I'm going to kind of shout out my course. You can go and find out more about my course, arabicwithsam.com/60. That's how, just the number 60. That's how you can go and find out a lot more information. But it is my premium program. It's the program that most of my blood, sweat, and tears goes into. It's £100 for the whole year, or £99.99, just under £100, which is almost nothing. But obviously, I don't have a Patreon. I don't ask people to donate to this channel. I don't ask people to do anything like that. Like, the only way that I make money is through that course. So obviously it'll be a huge support to me and to this podcast and to the YouTube channel and to all the free stuff that I create if people sign up. Even if you don't need a program, do you know what I mean? If you wanted to sponsor the channel for £8 a month, then just go and sign up for £8 a month. do you know what I mean? Like, it's like that would be really, really awesome too, even if you aren't looking for a full program. Then that would mean the world to me. So that's it. I'm not gonna pester you guys anymore. I'm a bit tired now. I don't know if I'm gonna talk about the Khabib fight. Maybe I'll just drop some thoughts on it, because there are some things I've been thinking about. So leave now if you're not interested in the Khabib Conor McGregor fight. Leave right now. Thank you very much for listening. May Allah bless you guys. I hope you guys have a really, really nice week. Sorry that this podcast came out late. I do really, really apologise for that. It's just because I was moving house. I didn't get a chance to put it out on the usual Monday. There will be a podcast coming out next Monday, and I'll put in the show notes what that next podcast is going to be about. It's going to be episode 6. I'll catch you guys later. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you're still listening, welcome MMA fans, welcome fight fans, welcome Habib, welcome people who Habib is mahboob to us. He is beloved by us. So basically, here are some of my thoughts. Here are some of my thoughts on the Habib Conor McGregor fight. My thoughts are, Conor McGregor is a washed-up has-been. And he should fight Logan Paul or KSI or just another entertainer. Look, Conor McGregor's shouting for a rematch. I think it's pathetic. Khabib dominated in every aspect of that game. Khabib beat him in boxing. Khabib beat him on the ground as expected. And really, at the end, when Khabib choked Conor McGregor out, it looked like Khabib felt like he'd been robbed. It felt like Khabib felt like he wanted more. Like, Khabib almost finished him out of pity then. Like, Khabib wanted to finish him in the last second of the last round. Like, he would have loved to have just enjoyed the beatdown for another round. But, it was such a humiliating, pitiful performance by McGregor and by his team. So I don't think he deserves a rematch, but worryingly, I think he'll get it. I think he'll get it because this is the fight business. It's not a fight company. It's not a fight, it's not like a fight championship. It's just it's a company. Like, the matchups are so messed up, and the fact that Conor McGregor is ranked number 2 in the lightweight division is just embarrassing to the UFC. Like, Conor McGregor's had 2 fights in the lightweight division. How can you be ranked number 2 when you've had 2 fights in the lightweight division and you've lost one of them? And the other one, his only ever fight in the lightweight division was for the championship. Who can be legitimately considered the champion when you've had 1 fight in that division? He's still carrying the belt around. Like, it's ridiculous. If it was anyone else in the world, he would not be carrying the belt around. It's ridiculous, man. The kid, in his past 5 fights, he's won 2 of them. One of them was a dubious decision against Nate Diaz in the rematch, which he was given probably out of pity. And the second one was a perfect matchup for him when he was allowed to fight for the title in the lightweight division. A fight that never should have happened. That should have been Habib's fight in the first place. It's embarrassing, man. And of those 3 losses, just to remind you, one of them he got choked out by Nate Diaz. convincing, decisive beat. The other one's a boxing match against Floyd Mayweather, which we all knew was a joke, and Mayweather battered him for 8 rounds, and we knew that would happen. And then he got choked out by Khabib in the easiest fight Khabib's ever had in his life. Like, his fight record is lost 3, won 2 in his past 5 fights. Do you know who have better fight records than that? Kevin Lee, Dustin Poirier, Barboza. And who the bloody hell are they? Who are they? And they've got better fight records than him. And yet there's talk about him having a second shot at the title. If he has a rematch, his only 3 fights in the lightweight division will be for the title. Imagine that. Imagine someone only having 3 fights and being given 3 shots at the title. In the meanwhile, Tony Ferguson is waiting in the wings. He's legitimately won like 10 fights in a row in the lightweight division. It's absolute robbery if he's given it. But we just have to come to the same conclusion that it is just entertainment. It's not about fight skill. It's not about honour and martial arts. It's just about fight entertainment. It's gotta be. Like, I mean, McGregor has a following for the same reason that Logan Paul and KSI do. Like, they're entertainers. McGregor should be used in the same breath as YouTubers and stand-up comedians. He shouldn't be used in the same breath as a fighting caliber, like with the names like Nate Diaz and Khabib and Tony Ferguson. And even Kevin Lee and Dustin Poirier, they've been more active than him in the UFC, and they've had more fights than him in the past sort of 2 years. They've been more successful than him in the past 2 years or so. You know what I mean? It's embarrassing, the idea that he'd even be given that. You know, Conor McGregor should have a rematch, but against Khabib's daughter. Khabib's daughter should. Like, the only reason why I'm emotionally invested in it, like, I wish I didn't care. Like, I wish that I didn't stay up to watch the Khabib fight. I wish I just went to bed. Like, I wish I just got into bed next to my wife and just had a comfortable night's sleep. But, like, I'm invested in it because Conor McGregor's team have got away with Conor McGregor calling Khabib's team a mad terrorist, his manager to be specific, mad terrorist, got away with calling Khabib a backwards CUNT. He's got away, the team, like Dylan Dennis, the scumbag jiu-jitsu coach of Conor McGregor, has got away with calling Khabib a effing Muslim rat in the fight. Like, and it's all gone unpunished. Like, I promise you, if you supplement those words for anything anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish, Conor McGregor never fights in the UFC again. Dylan Dennis is never allowed to corner a fighter ever again. He gets removed from Bellator and he's not even allowed to fight in jiu-jitsu competitions publicly. I guarantee you that, if he said those things about a Jewish fighter. I guarantee it to you. But, in the name of freedom of speech, continue dehumanising Muslims, and because I know it has real life implications for us. I know that a million impressionable Conor McGregor fans now know that they can call Muslims effing Muslim rats, and they can call Muslims mad terrorists and backwards CUNTs with no repercussions whatsoever, because there's a man who's making a career out of it at the moment and is one of the most decorated and cherished people in fighting history, apparently, despite the fact that his record over the past 3 years is worse than people who literally you guys probably never heard of. Probably never heard of Kevin Lee. Probably never heard of Barboza or Dustin Poirier. Like, who are they? Do you know what I mean? But they're all people with better fight records than Conor McGregor. I wish I didn't say all of that stuff. I wish I just didn't care. Look, I'm gonna finish it here. I'm gonna finish it here. I'm not even gonna follow. I need to promise myself I'm not even gonna follow it anymore. Over and out, guys. Have a really good day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.